Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969, and now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Tara Diulis, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and you are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. I hope you go to their website and check out all their great content. As always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, the Colorado MUFON State Director and Mars Administrator. Tonight, we have a very special guest for you. We have Dr. Simeon Hein. We had Dr. Hein out here just, 2 months ago. He was our guest speaker for Colorado, and his presentation just blew my mind. And I just finished reading his book, and that was incredible too. So I can't wait to talk with him about all these great things. I mean, he runs the gamut from crop circles to, ball lightning, crypto creatures, UFOs, you name it, he covers it. And we're all waiting on pins and needles for this big hearing tomorrow. So we'll see what that brings. And we'll talk with Dr. Hein about what his expectations are for that news tomorrow as well. Again, I just wanted to run by a few conferences that are coming your way soon. We have the Pikes Peak Conference running May 19th through the 21st, right here in our own backyard, or my backyard, in Cripple Creek, Colorado, a cool little town. It's a little gambling town, and I'll be speaking there along with Mindy Telfish, the State Director of Oklahoma MUFON, and I hope you guys can make it out here to Colorado. It'll be fun to hang out with all of you. Also, we have Contact in the Desert. It's back live this year. And Contact in the Desert is running June 2nd through the 4th. For more information, you can go to contactinthedesert.com. And I believe there's only 6 days left to get those lower prices on tickets, and then they're going to shoot up again. So if you want to get those tickets, I recommend you get in there and get them as soon as you can. And last but not least, we have the MUFON Symposium, August 24th through the 27th. And you can go to mufonsymposium.com for that. That is always a great time. And on that Thursday, we have FI training, and Chris DePerno and I will be teaching some classes there. And we hope to see you out there at that MUFON Symposium. All right, let's bring in our co-host. We have Tara Diulis. Tara, you can see right here on KGRA with Mark D'Antonio on SkyTour Live. Hi, Tara. How you doing tonight?
Hi. What's up, Katie? What's up, everyone? Hi.
I'm running a little nuts. My charger on my laptop decided to surge and literally sped down to Walmart.
Oh, God.
And I sped by a cop. I was like, don't jump in the Jeep, get in the charger, getting out, coming back, running in the driveway. And I made it. So
Good
I'm
job.
a little
Super Katie.
I need some meditation. Deep breaths.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all
over
good.
now, Katie. We're all here. Glad to be
We're
here.
all good. All right. Let's bring on Chris DePerno, the State Director for New York, and he's on the ER team. And Jerry and Jen, where's Jerry?
No, they're just taking a slight vacation. They'll be back next week.
All right, where they go to this time? They vacation more than we do.
They gotta have a little time off.
Everyone
They're in
their
the alien union, and the union says that they got to have so many vacation days a year, so they decided to take a vacation. It's good to see that both of my co-hosts, one's on depressants, the other one's on Adderall. So I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm screaming, I'm going, I'm crazy. Oh, you'll be okay. Holy crap. Okay. Well, it'll be a great show. Dr. Hein to be here tonight, and we're gonna really interview him in regards to what he knows about crop circles and this Air Force thing. Of course, the Air Force never lies to us, so I think that'll be a great thing tomorrow to listen to. You know, they'll bring Katie's old laptop to show the UFO pictures like they did last time.
Yeah, they-
Well, this laptop isn't really good, so I mean, I can't show you this picture. Yeah, you're the U.S. government, and you bring a secondhand laptop that came
and
out
my
of a
disappointing
dumpster.
and my disappointing Starlink connection, which I know I just need to get it up on the higher roof peak, and I'm not getting up there. And that whole cat thing we talked about last week, that didn't work out. At least I haven't tried it yet. While you're up there getting my cat, which I don't have a cat, I'll have to
You
borrow the
know,
neighbor's cat.
I found out that there
You
are
don't have to
certain
know.
things. There is a great thing called handymen, and that you can hire
Oh.
one of these and put them up there for you. But hey, listen, that's just a thought.
Yeah, I need one of those. Anyway, Tara, what do you have to kick us off tonight?
Well, it's good to see you guys. I have for today's meme. We have here we have Bigfoot sitting on a log in a forest and with his laptop on his knees. Now that's not
That's
Katie's
Katie's.
laptop.
Katie's laptop. Is that LinkedIn? You can find out who's searching for you. At least what they do for a living.
The message pops up. Find out who's been searching for you. I bet there's a big long list for him.
That's funny.
I know.
I like that one.
I know it's fun. Today's products is kind of see the theme I'm going on. We have some fun Bigfoot air fresheners, and you can see
what do those smell like?
they're pine scented. So there are 5 different figures, or actually you can get 5 or 10 different figures, and they're scented with essential oil of pine. And the fragrance lasts for about 20 days, but how fun and adorable in your car or your lockers or your backpacks or your closet or near your pets, etc., or your friends, but share them with your friends and family.
When are they going to come up with wet fur smell? I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna
Bigfoot,
say,
that's what they're going to
Sasquatches-
smell like is a wet fur.
Yeah.
You know?
No, this
Those
is he's been
Sasquatches
rubbing against
stink.
pine trees. So
I love the one he's carrying a big brewski. He's out there having a good old time.
Drink that. That's funny. Oh my gosh. But just remember, everybody, to always believe in yourself, especially when no one else will. Okay, that's a retro metal sign, and all these fun things can be found on Amazon.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, it is. They're just kind of fun. So you're interested in some chocolate? How about almost a pound of solid chocolate? So this is a supernatural Sasquatch paranormal pop. So he's holding an alien head. Do you see that? And there's UFOs in the sky, and there's an orb and some eye shine from other Sasquatches. So it's just really cool. But chocolate flavored, and I'm sure you can get them in all sorts of flavors. And all these and fun things can be found at paranormalpops.com.
I think
So-
that you're onto something there with the Sasquatch with the alien head. Maybe they're just been at war with each other, and that's what's been
Yeah.
going on this whole time.
I absolutely think that if I ever have a good friend who's a diabetic, that's what I'm going to buy him.
You should get him a Sasquatch pound of chocolate.
A pound of chocolate so you can go into a coma. May I send that to my enemy? Hey,
Oh
how
my
you
gosh.
doing? There's a pound of chocolate. Go into
You
the
can
coma.
send it to me, but don't tell me which one I am, okay?
I like
but I
the
wanna-
idea about him ripping the head off and carrying the head. I wonder if he
That's
ate the
pretty
body.
funny. I
You
bet
think
he
he ate
did.
the body?
I bet
think
he
so.
slapped it on the ground and poked it with a stick or something. You know,
Yeah, he could have.
who knows what
There.
those Sasquatch do? You know. Oh
So
my
much for
gosh.
being my master.
Well, all I can say is once you eat that, you want to wash it down with something good. And remember, everybody, follow that chocolate fest with lots of water, or better yet, add some fuel up to your hydration routine. So there's wake, play, and rest. And remember, it's vegan friendly, paleo keto friendly. There's no soy, no gluten, and no GMOs. So visit fuelup.gg/MUFON for all their special offers. And be sure to fuel up, everyone.
All right, Tara,
Everybody
what's
fuel
a
up.
paleo keto?
Yes.
I have my
What's a
UFO
paleo
part.
keto?
Well, it has to do with the sugar and the carbs and stuff, I believe.
A paleo
So,
keto? Is that what they
yeah, so
Okay.
it's good for a lot of different types
Folks,
of
you
diets
need
that you
paleo keto. Okay. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something that you get out of a pizza tube, but you need paleo keto.
It's not that you need it, but it's friendly to those diets, so you can still eat them. Drink it, and it won't interfere.
No sugar. Right.
No, yep. So, Chris, what do you have for us today? Any
Well, you know,
paleo
I have a
keto
special
news?
treat for everybody. You know, every week I do the news, but I have a special
like
treat.
treats.
Today,
Okay.
one of the best documentaries on UFOs you will ever see, Accidental Truth, came out. It is an amazing one. I got a sneak peek of the documentary. It was something that just blew my mind. Now, what does accidental truth mean? Accidental truth is when you get somebody on the television or the radio and they make a mistake and they tell you what they're not supposed to tell you. And that's exactly what Ron James did. Ron James is the director of media for MUFON, and he did a fabulous job. This guy is just top notch, and he made Accidental Truth. And I got to tell you, here's a special treat. I got an interview with Ron James, and I want to share it with everybody here.
Awesome.
So stand by.
Okay.
All right.
MUFON, what's up? I have a very special treat. My guest is Ron James. He is the co-founder of MUFON Television, an online TV channel boasting the world's largest collection commercial-free UAP-related material. What do you think about that? Ron is also a filmmaker, an on-camera personality, writer, editor, researcher, content creator, and an entrepreneur. He is also the director of media relations for MUFON. Ron has been involved in the highest levels of production for musical acts such as Guns N' Roses, the Smashing Pumpkins, the Beach Boys, Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love those guys. Kendrick Lamar, and many, many more. Ron has created 7 feature-length documentaries and dozens of original independent series episodes. His newest film, Accidental Truth, is released by 1091 Distribution. Ron has won 19 national awards, including 4 EBE awards, the Telly Award, the Aegis Award for Excellence in Broadcasting 4 times. He is currently making his own shows, including Bigger Questions, Space Time, MUFON Presents, and for this documentary, he has won 9 awards and still counting. It hasn't even been released yet. So please welcome Ron James. How are you, Ron?
I'm great. I'm listening to the intro and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Oh, wait.
You're a rock star when it comes to these documentaries and stuff. So, Ron, I mean, you've done it all. For the viewers, let's talk about your new documentary you did. It's called Accidental Truth. Tell us, how did you get involved with this project?
Well, my UFO videography started back in 2000, I think it was 7, when I got hired to live stream and produce an X conference in Washington, D.C. And it was at that point that I realized, we're dealing with the biggest deception in human history.
Huge.
And I thought that if I'm going to be in this business, I might as well take some really meaty topics and try to do something about it. So I've produced a bunch of show episodes and 2 different documentaries about UFOs. One was called The Disclosure Dialogues back in 2012. And Accidental Truth it's like my opus of UFO related material. So it's got interviews that go back to 2007 or 2009. And it's just been kind of percolating in the back of my head that I have these statements that these people have made. And then we have evidence that's been coming forward and actually being released by the government, but it doesn't paint the whole picture until you start cross-referencing what so-and-so said, how that applies to history, and how it applies to Freedom of Information Act requests, and what that bigger picture is. And that's what Accidental Truth is.
Basically, Accidental Truth puts the pieces of the puzzle together. So the viewers and listeners will be able to see what the real deal is with the UFO disclosure. Pretty much that, isn't it, Ron?
Yeah, we've got, since the 2017 big reveal with Lou and Chris and TTSA and all this stuff in the New York Times, we've been given this new narrative, and they're rewriting history. And it's basically, the new narrative is basically, we closed everything down after Project Blue Book, and nothing really was happening until the ATIP program. And so in Accidental Truth, we blow that story out of the water. We're able to actually paint a pretty decent picture of what was going on during those years, and a pretty interesting, compelling case for the kinds of things that were discovered and studied and how they're bubbling up now through this new narrative, when really it's just a cover up for the historical interest in the topic so that they can free themselves of culpability.
Now, Amanda, would you put up that poster of the Accidental Truth for us real quick? Yeah, look at that. That's amazing, all those awards and everything. But one of the things that I was absolutely amazed about, you were able to get acclaimed movie star Matthew Modine to narrate this film. Are you friends with him? I mean, how did that happen? That's a superstar there.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. We were going through potential narrators. At first I wanted Steven Tyler from Aerosmith to do it, and he was actually interested. And then he went into rehab, and we had to take him off the list. So then we had Edward James Olmos, and we were right at the point where we were signing a contract with Eddie, and his lawyer kind of spooked him, and he passed at the last minute after. I mean, we were down to, here's the contract, let's get it signed. And then he balked. I think, because this is a scary documentary to make. It's in the good old fashioned journalistic documentary style, and we're not pulling any punches. So I think Eddie's lawyer kind of pointed out to him that we're poking the Defense Intelligence Agency in the eye, among with many, many other people. And
how do you want to do that too hard?
Film. So, well, we do. There were times when I was making this movie that I remember when I was in New York, doing the work with Matthew. I was staying at the Hard Rock Hotel right over Times Square, and they have a restaurant on the top floor. And I had a table right by the railing. And I remember I did a selfie video because I was thinking there were times when I really, really thought that I could get myself in a lot of trouble making this movie. And I made a little selfie video at the top. I'm sitting here, 20 floors up right next to a 4-foot railing. And, if somebody didn't want this movie to get made, all they'd have to do is come in here and push me over. And I actually was keeping my eye open.
Hey, did you?
But back to how we got mad.
These guys? You think your phones were?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, when you're a director in MUFON, and you're me anyway, that kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
MUFON is closely scrutinized, but we'd be crazy to think that we're not. But that being said, I had all kinds of weird stuff. When I went and shot B-roll at Bigelow Aerospace, I got followed around by a black van or a black SUV, which, that might be something, it might not. But yeah, I would wake up in the middle of the night and my computer hard drive is chattering away and there's data being transferred. It's like somebody was watching the whole process of the movie being made. And I think it's only coming out because it's been allowed to come out. But yeah, I was under surveillance.
When that stuff happens, Ron, you mean you must be on the right track, because that doesn't happen unless you're on the right track. So kudos to you. Hey, listen, you had some big names in this film. One of them was Lou Elizondo. How was that?
I interviewed Lou back in 2018 at the MUFON Symposium. And so I've been sitting on the interview for a really long time. And then when I decided I was actually going to use it, I literally had to jump through some hoops to make that happen. So I have to quantify that Lou Elizondo is not he's not like I don't even know how to describe him. He's in the movie. That's all I can say. Nobody wants it kind of painted that Lou has anything to do with the movie, except that there's an interview with him that we used. Which is fine, but I guess he's got a big project coming out, and he doesn't want anything to headline his name. So he was the interview that he gave me that actually was going to be, the whole film was going to be based around that interview, but as it progressed, there were more. But there's a part in the movie where Lou Elizondo says something that is just absolutely spellbinding, and we catch him on it, and there's no going back. So it's one of the accidental truths in the movie.
That just makes you a great interviewer, Ron. What about Michio Kaku? That's got to be a great interview there.
I went to New York and I interviewed Michio Kaku on the day before my birthday. You couldn't ask for a better birthday present, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I spent an hour with him. I rented a studio in Manhattan and he came down, and I had sent him a list of all of the different technologies that the Defense Intelligence Agency released reports on. And I said, we want to comment on some of these technologies. And he called me back, and I thought he was going to back out of the interview. He's like, this stuff is a crock. This stuff doesn't exist. We don't have this. And I'm like, look, people are studying it. And I gave him some places to go and do some research. And, you know, there's a lot of controversy around these DIRDs, the Defense Intelligence reports. But the fact of the matter is that the speculation about this technology is bubbling up through these DIRDs, but it's been written about, speculated about, and researched since the time of the 40s. And anybody that tries to debunk the idea that we got some kind of idea that these technology exists, we didn't just think it up. Hey, let's, you know, dedicate a whole bunch of government resources to try and figure out transwarp tunnels or wormholes. You know, these guys have witnessed some of this stuff, and now they're trying to figure out, well, how can we do it? So we have arguably the world's most famous scientist weighing in on things like transversal wormholes, things like time travel. You know, is this scientifically possible? What would it take for us to do it? And the underlying theme through, as we explore all these different technologies, is yes, it is possible, but we can't do it. Not yet. And maybe not for thousands of years. But
I agree with you. But also in the film, you were able to get a member of Congress to talk to you. And a lot of them don't want to talk about this subject, but you were. Tell us about that.
Well, Tim Burchett actually ended up being a real champ. Our lobbying group in Washington, D.C., MUFON actually has a lobbying group, and we have a seat at the table in what's happening now with the disclosure, with the hearings and with the legislation and everything else. And they got me an interview with Tim. So I hopped on a plane. I flew to Washington on a moment's notice, and I had a suitcase full of production equipment. So I marched it into the House office building through security. I'm dragging a suitcase down the halls of Congress. I get to Tim's office. I set everything up, and he comes in, and we just had a frank discussion. The whole interview I haven't published, but I have video, because we did it with two cameras. I have video of me sitting across from Tim Burchett, telling him the whole history of this thing from Roswell all the way up to the new narrative story. So, you know, I'm probably one of the only people who is on the record sitting in a sitting congressperson's office laying out the whole UFO story for him. And Tim is a fan. He actually, he's a sci-fi guy. He's
Can you get him to be a MUFON member?
Well, he's already an honorary member, but we got him to Skype in at the symposium. And then a few weeks ago, I was back in Washington. I actually had lunch with Andre Carson, which was huge. And then I went by Tim's office to tell him that the movie's out, and we're about to release a video of that. And you know, he was there, and we sat and we talked, and they had some cake in there, and we ate, and it was great. So Tim Burchett has been very, very supportive of the cause and quite a friend.
You know what, Ron? Let's give the viewers a treat. Amanda, will you roll the trailer to Accidental Truth?
The UFO reality can no longer be denied. In 2017, the New York Times broke a front-page story about a shadowy government program.
The Pentagon had this secret UFO monitoring agency which nobody knew about.
Don't ask me, because I'm not going to tell you.
Instead of answers, we've been given a new narrative. The UAPs are not ours or any foreign government's.
Then the question is, whose are they?
You can ask the questions, but who are you going to ask them of? And you've got to make sure you're asking the right people.
There are many things that are out there in the ether that aren't officially brought to our attention.
How would it have to be officially brought to your attention? I'm bringing it to your attention.
Do you expect to see real answers in this report?
Honestly, I don't think so, Jake.
The memorable quote in that is, technology not of this earth, not made by man.
That's a profound moment.
So have you studied classified materials, but you just don't have them?
I just shouldn't say anything more.
Individuals at the Pentagon confirmed the Roswell spacecraft real.
It's just a complete cover-up.
Some phenomena point to an interaction with consciousness.
Maybe the physical evolved from consciousness.
Life may exist in all sorts of forms. The question is, what's our definition of life?
Folks, when this documentary comes out, it's going to rock your world. No lie. Ron, any more you want to tell the audience?
Well, two things. I forgot to finish the story about how we got Modine, Matthew. So I'll just cover that real quick. He was in London signing autographs at Comic-Con, and I had actually hired a guy, Grant Ibrahim, to help me get an appropriate narrator, because it's quite a process, a lot of legwork. And so after we lost Eddie, one of his friends was with Matthew Modine at Comic-Con in Europe, and the guy that they were there together, it was like Matt's agent, and the guy asked him at point blank, "Hey, what do you think about UFOs?" And Matthew said, "Oh, I've seen one before." And so the conversation ensued, and by the time they were done with that conversation, we had our narrator.
Fantastic. Hey, your Accidental Truth is becoming so popular that I guess you got T-shirts out, and they're counterfeiting your T-shirts on a record basis. What's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, sometime next week we're going to start chasing these guys down. But somebody got a hold of the cover art. It's on my website actually, so they could steal it. But yeah, if you Google Accidental Truth T-shirt, it almost comes back more people selling the T-shirt than you could get Googling Accidental Truth the movie. And so it's sad to see that, really.
Yeah.
But the website's up right now. If people want, like, we have the mouse pads, we have the
I got to get one.
We have the awesome T-shirts, and we have some autographed posters from Matthew Modine.
Cool.
And we're taking a lot of the proceeds from this and donating them to our animators. They're both in Ukraine, and they both have lost their computers because of the war. So we had times during the production toward the end where one day I might get a finished animation shot, and the next day I might get a video of a missile flying over the guy's house. And when Russia hit the local power plants, it caused a power surge. Both of them lost their computers just for that reason. So we're taking some of the merch money, a small percentage. I don't want people to think that we're doing huge amounts, but we're helping them to get new computers. So accidentaltruths.com is where you can find out about the movie. You can pre-order the movie, and you can also get the merch. The only place to get the real merchandise.
Ron, tell the listeners, when is the release?
On April 18th, it's available to buy, and then I think a week later it'll be available to rent. So yeah, this has been a heck of a project for me. It's not a journey I want to repeat ever, but it's done and it's out there, and now I'm giving it to the world. And just a few days, and I can't be more excited.
Folks, Accidental Truth coming out April 18th. If you ever want to see a UAP documentary, Ron James has probably made the best. It's winning awards like crazy. I highly recommend April 18th. You go find Accidental Truth, buy it, try to rent it, get with your people, get with your friends. This is the documentary to watch. If there is a documentary out there that's going to tell you the real deal about ufology, Ron James has made it.
We
Ron?
did do a bit of a history lesson. So for the general public that's not up to speed, there's a lot of it basically takes us back to Roswell times. And as much as I hated to repeat it, I had to do it to make it a self-contained film. So there's a lot in there for people that are UFO aficionados, but it's also a good mainstream film, and it's just a onslaught of information. There's not a wasted second in the movie.
Ron, thank you very much for being here with MUFON What's Up. We'll make sure that the word gets out.
Great interview, Chris. Oh my goodness. So I want to thank Ron James. There's a little known actress in there. Her name was an actress formerly known as Katie Grabowski, who's in that film. So I purchased it on Amazon Prime today and watched it. And Ron should be very proud. It came out very nice.
Probably one of the best UFO documentaries you will ever see. I highly recommend for people, if you really want to know the history of ufology, and really know some of the inside stuff. When he interviewed Gary Nolan shut it down. He was getting so close to the real sensitive stuff that Gary Nolan actually says, I don't want to talk anymore, and shut down the interview. And actually Gary makes the point that he let out the accidental truth, the stuff that he should not let out because he's done so much sensitive stuff in ufology.
Yep.
And it's out today. So that's
today.
awesome.
Yep. Amazon Prime. You can purchase it there. I bought my copy. So I think it's time we should bring in Dr. Simeon Hein. What do you guys say?
Awesome. Yes, let's do it.
All right. Let me read a quick bio here. Oh, nope. I'm not going to read the quick bio. That is case of the week, and we're going to save that for next week. Let me get the bio here. It's right here. Fell down on me.
Doctor, give me
okay. Dr. Simeon Hein received his PhD in sociology from Washington State University in 1993 and is the author of Opening Minds, a journey of extraordinary encounters, crop circles, and resonance. His dissertation focused on the role of technology in social and economic change, specifically how technology can destroy information and interfere with natural evolutionary processes. Interesting topic. I can't wait to talk to him about that. A former sociology teacher, he now runs the nonprofit Institute for Resonance and the publishing company Mount Baldley Press in Boulder, Colorado, right here in our backyard, my backyard. He specializes in instructing people in the art of resonant viewing, hyper-intuition, human fusion, and also leads people on crop circle tours. He first learned remote viewing at the Farsight Institute in Atlanta in 1996 and has also studied with government-trained viewers. His blog, which is devoted to the study of subtle energy sciences, is newcrystalmine.com. Since the publication of Opening Minds, Dr. Hein has participated in more than 300 radio and TV interviews. His most recent books are Dark Matter Monsters, Cryptids, Ball Lightning, and the Science of Secret Life Forms, and Black Swan Ghosts. A sociologist encounters witnesses to unexplained aerial craft, their occupants, and other elements of the multiverse. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Hein. How you doing, Simeon?
Hey there, thanks.
Hello, Doctor.
Thanks
Hello, nice to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you too.
Yeah. Let's start with what you think about these hearings tomorrow that's going to be going on. You think we'll learn anything new?
Well, I guess you can always hope we will. The last one that they had in May last year, you had a little clip of it in the trailer for Accidental Truth. We weren't hearing very much from the Pentagon every time.
Yeah, we're lying their ass off.
Yeah, they said, well, we're going to save that for the closed hearings this afternoon. And that was sort of what they said. So we didn't really learn all that much, except they're really good at denying that this is a real phenomena.
Yeah, but Doctor, don't you realize the Air Force has denied this for 70 years. They have said everything and anything they can. They've thrown the kitchen sink at trying to deny this phenomenon. Do you think, honestly, tomorrow they're going to say, yeah, we've been fooling you for 70 years, sir?
Well, they may not say that exactly, but I mean, honestly, at some point, if you keep having documentaries come out like Accidental Truth, you're going to have to get a different response from these people. It's things never stay the same. History isn't frozen. I mean, no one expected the Berlin Wall to come down in 1989, but it did. And no one predicted that. So these things can crumble a lot faster than any of us can expect. So I wouldn't be totally pessimistic about it. But at some point, it has to open up a little bit. Will it happen tomorrow? Will we get some, little breadcrumbs of truth? Or is it going to be more of this bureaucratic sort of stalling, kick the ball down the road sort of thing? Or are they going to finally say, look, it's there and we don't understand it? We'll see.
I just want to say one thing. Doctor, I watched interviews of Dr. Travis Taylor. And one of the things that struck me is that Dr. Taylor said he had 144 cases. Out of the 144, he was only able to examine, or I should say, explain one case. The 143 were this. And he told these people this. He told the government this. And during the hearing, the chief of naval intelligence turns around and says, oh, well, we studied 144 cases, And out of 144, there was only one that we couldn't explain. He absolutely reversed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, these guys are supposed to be bright minds, so I can't believe that was a mistake.
It's supposed to be.
Right, but, you've got people like Tim Burchett out there who was in, you saw a clip of him in the Bouchard. Yeah. You could get tougher questions. Burchett, yeah. You could get tougher questions from people like him and others. Kristen Gillibrand. I don't know who's on this committee. I haven't studied it, but I mean, you could turn up the heat and ask them exactly what you just pointed out. So far, we haven't heard a lot of specifics, but it has to change at some point. Things just don't stay totally frozen, or what happens historically, they collapse, just like the Soviet Union did. And so it has to either open up or the systems get replaced by people and institutions that are more open. I don't think nature really gives us much of a choice. You can't hide from reality forever. So at some point it's going to break up. Maybe it won't happen tomorrow, but give it a little time. I don't see any other alternative personally.
I hope you're right, Doctor.
Me too.
Yeah. The more they're talking about it, I mean, the more the public gets more interested, and slowly we'll.
And at least, guys, we have some process going on here now, right? I mean, at least something's happening.
Something's happening.
It's could be going in the right direction.
Well, we'll see how it is next week. We can talk about it then. Yeah.
They need a decent computer.
3 steps forward, 4 steps back. That's what we seem to be doing all the time.
I have to tell you one thing. I think one of you mentioned that this could be on C-SPAN tomorrow. Is that, I guess it was the one last May. Well, I attended the citizen hearing on disclosure in May 2013 at the National Press Club. It's the National Press Club. It was open to the public. Right. It was a very interesting event created by Paradigm Research Group, Steve Bassett and others. Well, C-SPAN could have turned on the cameras even for a minute. I mean, it was 5 days, 8 hours of testimony. It's remotely controlled. They never even turned the cameras on for former missiles, control launch officers, people who'd served in the FAA, people who've been in the Air Force and the military, and from other countries. You think you might want to hear a little bit about what they have to say they're encountering up there? Did we have to wait till there's a near collision or some accident? And they never did it. So, this has a long ways to go to get everyone participating here. Put the pressure on these people.
And I believe they started it. Yeah. They started it the wrong time last time too, didn't they? It was scheduled for a later time and then they changed it. So most people kind of miss part of it. I think that's intentional, don't you?
I don't know. I remember seeing part of it last time and waiting for something interesting to happen. I mean, it just, instead of this bureaucratic sort of generalization and denial, which, it's just what bureaucrats do. We're the ones that have to hold them accountable.
Right.
I just wanted to see more hardcore questions rather than softball questions. News agencies, they always throw these softball questions when it comes to this thing. Oh, do you think that these things might be the Chinese? Do you think they think that there might be the Russians? Look, the Russians had nothing during World War II. We were seeing them during World War II. The Russians had nothing. We had to give them equipment. The Chinese didn't even have a plane, for God's sake. So,
all right. So there's a benchmark we can establish for tomorrow, because we're hearing from Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick from the AARO office. Now, Stephen Greenstreet, reporter with the New York Post, posted something on Twitter just a few hours ago, which was an interview with Brandon Fugel, the owner of the Skinwalker Ranch. And he has Brandon saying right there that in 2018, he testified in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and Sean Kirkpatrick was there. And Kirkpatrick said, listen, Mr. Fugel, don't bother spending any time convincing us UFOs are real. We already know all of that. So that is where we're starting from tomorrow. Kirkpatrick has already gone on record. This could have been a classified hearing, but this is what Fugel tells us. He already said, we know this is all real. Let's start with something a little more complex. So let's see if we go there tomorrow, if he's just going to go back to what you're saying, Chris, the kind of the more step back, it could be, foreign technology, all this stuff.
Do you think, Simeon, they'll discuss the balloons at all? You think we'll hear any discussion on that?
Yeah, we will, because it's an easy way to avoid the topic.
Right.
This is why they do stuff like this. This is what the public sees. This is what I get asked about. Not when I spoke with you guys, Katie, at Colorado MUFON, but when I'm in the general public, like I spoke at a Rotary Club in New Jersey a couple of weeks ago. And this is what the balloons, this is something in the sky, and it could be a threat and all this. This is a way to avoid the issue. We're not talking about balloons. We're talking about highly advanced technologies. I've spoken to people who've seen this who haven't gone public yet. And they tell me it's 1,000 years ahead of where we're at. No question about it.
Wow.
Well, Doctor, I have a question for you, kind of changing the subject a little bit, but you were talking about, technologies and when Katie was reading your bio, how technology can destroy information and interfere with natural evolutionary processes. And I'm interested in what you mean by that. And I have a question, and I may be applying something wrong, but is something like maybe the Skinwalker Ranch, could there be like a crashed something technology buried underneath that ground? And is that destroying the processes that are going on? And maybe that's kind of a reach, but I'm curious how you would characterize that.
Okay, there's a lot of good questions there. So what I studied in graduate school was something called fractal geometry. It's something that mathematicians and scientists didn't really know how to deal with until recently. These are shapes of nature, branching structures, the way things in nature really look, not like straight lines and perfect circles and so forth, but shapes that look self-similar. They look the same at different scales, right?
Cool.
Fractals are technically, now listen to this, interdimensional objects. This is how you define a fractal. It's something like a cloud, which is between 2 and 3 dimensions, or like a mountain range, which looks very similar at different scales, or your cardiovascular system, the way things in reality really look, which is very complex and broken up, but there's a pattern to it and a dimensionality. So just to go back to the first part of your question, when I studied fractals, it opened my mind up to the possibility that there could be phenomena that science hadn't studied yet, because science had barely got onto fractals. I got a lot of blowback in the social sciences for even attempting to use fractals to study, informational systems and things like this, to kind of get measures of dimensions. So a lot of the phenomena that we're all interested here and our listeners are interested are technically interdimensional phenomena. They sort of show up, they disappear. And it seems like they're better described by fractal geometry than the sort of linear Euclidean math that we were taught in grade school, right? Where everything just sort of makes sense and it's very even and very linear.
Right.
So a lot of these phenomena are based on a different type of math than the way modern people, the way we think about things. We want everything to be reduced to efficiency criteria, right? It's almost like this idea, what measures the easiest counts the most. It's a bias that's very dangerous, and we have to watch out for it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because there's a lot of phenomena, as you all know, that we don't understand very well. And it would be a mistake to try to fit it, new wine into old wineskins, right? And so that prepared me for that's maybe we don't know what we're doing, and science doesn't have a good grasp on reality. That's what the study of good old fractal geometry, which was originally used to study line noise by Benoit Mandelbrot at IBM, line noise in telephone wires. But they found that these fractal patterns describe nature a lot better than the types of ordinary math that we're used to. So that's sort of how I was open to these phenomena, even something like remote viewing. I mean, I was open to the possibility that these things could be real and no one had told me. And that's really seems to be what it's been the case. It's just been, as Ingo Swann said, one mother of a surprise, one surprise after the other, to realize how much of these phenomena, when you talk to witnesses, it's actually real. They're actually perceiving these objects, creatures, beings, things. And there is no language that we have to describe them. So it gets pushed under the rug. And Skinwalker Ranch is a perfect example where not only have the recent owners, whether it's Robert Bigelow or Brandon Fugel, you read about that region, and Native Americans described sort of what we call paranormal phenomena happening out there for hundreds of years, whatever the cause is. So, Tara, I don't know if it's something buried underground. I mean, my particular bent would be that there's a crystalline or mineral structure in the soil there that makes it easier for coherent matter to form. Coherent matter being things like
Interesting.
Could that give off powerful radiations, Doctor?
They can. Ball lightning and orbs are known to emit UV radiation, and they're potentially carcinogenic, which is why when they go through people, which is not very common, but happens occasionally, the people can have different types of cancers, lymphatic cancer. That the frequencies of orbs and ball lightning resonate with certain types of cells in our bodies, and it could be potentially dangerous.
I mean, there's so much we don't understand. We don't even know how gravity works. We don't know what dark energy is. And something, I was at the Ozarks UFO conference this last weekend, and it was phenomenal. And one of the topics of conversation, actually, Trey Hudson had brought it up, and it was sort of Trey's, and he does the South Skinwalker Ranch down there. And he was talking about like inner dimensions, and he kind of gave this example of a four-legged stool, and how sometimes a lot of the phenomena will shift and change and morph. Well, maybe in our dimension, we're just seeing the four bottom of the chair legs, and the other one is residing in a whole nother dimension. Can you kind of speak to that and how we perceive this phenomenon to be? I mean, if we're talking, multiverse or something, how our perception of that might look.
No, Katie, I think that's a really good analogy. It's something that I wrote about in Opening Minds. There was a guy named Edwin Abbott who wrote a book called Flatland in Victorian England in like the 1880s or something like this. And Katie, this is exactly the analogy. This was what the story was about, is that there are these beings that live on a flat surface, flatlanders. And they encounter a sphere one day that looks in the same way you're talking about. Since they live on a flat tabletop surface, they just see it as a circle opening up and closing, and they think it's paranormal. Yeah. And the person who sees this gets arrested and accused of believing in Sphereland, right? A three-dimensional world, while these inhabitants live on a two-dimensional world. So that analogy that Trey gave is very good. In the Flatland book, which is technically fictional but seems always very realistic to me, the leaders of Flatland admit to A Square, this fellow that gets arrested for seeing the sphere, that they knew the whole time about a three-dimensional world, but they didn't want to tell the inhabitants of Flatland because of fear of social unrest.
Oh my God!
Familiar?
Very familiar.
I think that is what we're dealing with. Phenomena that come out of a higher dimensional reality. We barely have the language to talk about it. And we don't have the maturity to talk about it because it's easier to make fun of people and create ridicule and ostracism and all the nasty things that mammals do to each other occasionally, that humans seem really good at doing to each other. Yeah. The opposite of when we're cooperating. Yeah. And it scares people out of sharing their stories. You know this. You all know people who've experienced these things. I know these people. There are so many people out there that experience these phenomena, but they don't know who to call. They don't know how to talk about it. They're afraid of their neighbors laughing at them. That's what it's coming down to.
And absolutely. And I've seen that thousands of times. Doctor, there's a lot of scientists that are starting to come out and absolutely, but I haven't seen the proof yet. I haven't seen where their calculations are about parallel realities. Now, I know you've looked into parallel realities with all, especially what we're talking about now. What is our next step in order to prove that there are I believe in parallel realities. I believe there's multi-dimensions, but we haven't grasped the idea to push the science forward in order to prove this phenomenon. What is your take on one, the parallel realities, and two, where does science go with this?
It's a good question, Chris.
I've been thinking about it all day.
Yeah, I mean, people have been thinking about this for hundreds of years, and a fellow named Hugh Everett III wrote a whole PhD dissertation at Princeton in 1957, proposing that quantum mechanics suggests parallel realities. And it was later called the many worlds interpretation, even though at the time Hugh Everett called it the relative states idea, just that they're relative states to each other. And some people like physicist Sean Carroll think this is a very reasonable, simple interpretation of quantum mechanics. It leads to multiple realities. But I mean, the James Webb Space Telescope leads to seeing more exoplanets. It's not like we're running away in fear of the universe, because there's more exoplanets discovered every week, and the universe seems to be getting bigger. I mean, that's not a reason to reject the multiverse idea. So there's different interpretations of this. And this is Chris, just like you, this is a debate I love to get involved in and listen to, because we can't actually prove this is happening yet.
No.
But we might be able to prove it in the not too near, distant future. There are people that have proposed experiments with neutrinos and other possibilities showing that the particles in our universe around us are sharing some of their time in other realities. This has been proposed by researchers at Oak Ridge National Labs.
I will tell you something that was told to me, and I still can't wrap my hand around it, but they were talking about weaponizing if they were ever to be able to enter, and control a multi-dimension. They were thinking that the thought was they would weaponize it. Now you say, Chris, that's crazy, but think about it. If you weaponized, and this is what was told to me, if you weaponize a multi-reality, a multi-dimension, you could put prisoners there and not have prisons anymore. We just simply exile these people to another dimension, and then they're on their own. They would be forgotten about until such time. I know this sounds crazy, but there are people talking about that.
That's a new one for me, Chris. I wouldn't be surprised if
you should be surprised at people I talk to.
Throw them in the portal.
Look, I mean, the Soviet Union developed
instead of prison.
The Soviet Union developed a lot of the science that I'm talking to you about right now, especially coherent matter, ball lightning, or
microwaves, acoustic
laboratory produced scalar weapons. But look, it still didn't prevent the total decay and destruction of that particular system. Right. So that wouldn't be my first concern. If these effects are already happening, in my mind, all around us all the time. Let me give you an analogy. I'll give you the analogy to make this point. It's not just the evidence, because people often say there's no evidence for a multiverse, but I think the evidence does exist, and I think we see it often with cryptids and UFO activity and so forth. Mm-hmm. But it's a willingness to look at all of this evidence, the type of thing we would hope that happens in tomorrow's Senate hearings, right? Mm-hmm. From the Arrow office. 200 years ago, meteorites were considered to be some sort of peasant folklore, and they were considered to be volcano stones. Yep. Things that just come out of volcanoes. They weren't considered to be something that was extraterrestrial, that fell from the atmosphere from far away. And it didn't matter how many of those meteorites were around. The scientists at the time eventually decided in the late 1700s to throw them away in the garbage because they were considered to be hoaxes, right? Until you had an event in Eagle, France in 1804 where like thousands of these meteorites fell in one evening. And the evidence was so overwhelming, they realized, there are not enough volcanoes in the world to produce all those stones. So it's a willingness to look at the evidence. It's not just, is there proof? We have to have people, like we would expect to happen in the hearings tomorrow, we'll see if it happens, who are serious about looking at the evidence, talking to the witnesses. And these witnesses are people from our military. As you said, Chris, the Air Force, the Navy. We've heard from the Navy pilots. I've interviewed the folks from the Princeton Nimitz incidents, at least the folks, the guys in the ships who were manning the radar or involved in the data bricks and stuff. Kevin Day and
Sean Cahill.
Patrick Hughes and a couple of others. I haven't talked to Sean Cale, but those sorts of folks, I've talked to them, and I think you have to take them seriously. These are people with the highest levels of training who are telling them that what they were seeing was incredibly anomalous, including the repression of it right afterwards. In half an hour, people in Air Force uniforms show up on the ship and want all the data bricks and tell them to sign things and not to talk about it, as has happened throughout our history over the decades since Roswell, right? Guys show up on the ships and say, you didn't see anything, right? You do care about your career, Corporal. And so, it's not just the data itself. I know that's what science tells us is all that matters. We need a process that's more open than the Soviet Union was, to have different points of view, to look at the data, and to have witness testimony. And this could start tomorrow with a request for open hearings so we can hear these witnesses, like people I've been talking to over the years. I would like to see them put under oath in front of one of these committees to tell them what they've told me, that they don't want to, go public with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I mean, we're coming up here on our break, but when we get back, I want to get into the craft cryptids cover-ups.
Yeah.
but I think, if Simeon, if you're saying we may see some progress in our lifetimes, I think that would just shift the whole view of reality. I mean, in 30 seconds or less, do you agree with that? I mean, how we perceive reality would change.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Katie. This whole thing has been moving at a glacial pace since Roswell. Okay, it's been a big shutdown ever since the national security state was created during World War II and the Cold War. We all understand why it had to exist. The Soviet Union was a pretty serious adversary, but they don't exist anymore.
Right.
And we have to move forward. And it's like a rubber band effect. The more you pull it back, boom. No, it's going to come out. And when it does,
into break. Yeah. All right, break time. And I can't wait to get it in more on this when we get back.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Hundreds of thousands of people have claimed contact. If you're met face to face with something so alien, that will change you. It changed me.
Strange things would happen. This was something that I kept buried for years.
On Saturday, April 29th, KGRA Digital Broadcasting and Virgil Films have partnered to bring you an event that could open your mind to new possibilities. Watch John Yost recount his story in his documentary, Alien Abduction Answers. After the movie, participate in a live interactive panel where you can ask your questions in real time. You don't want to miss this event. Go to kgradb.com to claim your spot.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
All right. Back. So, Simeon, did you happen to catch Dave's movie, The UFO Connection?
I couldn't hear you, Katie. Can you repeat that? It broke up a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of having internet issues. I have Starlink, and I actually, as I'm talking, I got a pop up. There's an upgrade, so I'm going to check that out and upgrade whatever I have to pay. I'll pay it. I'll pay it, whatever it is. But I was asking, did you happen to catch David Paulides' UFO Connection, that film that he just came out with?
Yes, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and in the end, he talks about these aquifers, and I'm wondering, you had mentioned the minerals in that and the water. Do you think these things open up doorways or gateways, and how does that work? And we have a question from Kathleen in chat. She also wanted to ask how ball lightning is formed.
Good questions. Yeah, that was Missing 411, the UFO Connection. That was a lot of fun to watch. I actually saw a triangular craft while I was camping about 20 years ago in that same area, not with that dog over there. You can see another dog. And it was a huge triangular object northwest of Laramie. And because I was in the Snowy Mass Range, it was in the same area that David talked about in the movie. And it just reminded me, he's talking about these craft and all those hunters disappearing in that national forest in that area.
Right.
And so having seen that and having seen a huge craft come over one night about eye level, because I was up in the mountains. So it was about the same. I had night vision binoculars on the hood of my truck at the right moment, took them out, and there were just triangular shaped, with the lights, no blinking, slow going right over. And there's no airports around there. Even Warren at Cheyenne doesn't have the only Air Force base without planes. Hello. It's just,
and boy, Warren had that huge sighting with so many witnesses out there in Laramie. So much goes on in that area.
So much goes on. Yeah. And there was another time we were out there at the Rocky Mountain UFO conference, and we were up there with Stephen Greer doing a Skywatch, one of my first. As I approach all these topics, I thought 80 people are going to go out. We're going to meditate ahead of time, and we're really going to go out, and something's going to come over. Something really came over. It was bright and blue, and like some sort of laser-like light came down on us from a mile or two up. It was no easy. To this day, I cannot easily explain this, especially since it's before the age of drones, consumer drones. There was no explanation for something like that, but it's what you're supposed to do with the CE5 training. So that's McGuire Ranch. So that area is very interesting. Is it aquifers that, these are coming from underground? I don't know. I think David is speculating at the end of that movie about why there are clusters of these UFO sightings and disappearances, which I think is a pretty serious issue.
But doctor, wouldn't that make sense with electromagnetic energy? I mean, we know that there's certain spots within the world planet that there's electromagnetic energy emitting.
There are. And this is why I gave you the slides of Hess Stalin. This is a perfect example, and it goes to the comment from Kathleen, is there are areas, Chris, that are high, like this area in Norway has a high silica concentration. Silicates are in the soil. And this is known to make it easy to produce earth lights or ball lightning. And these look like UFOs. I mean, you would think maybe they are, but the consensus seems to be among some researchers, and I will say there's debate about this, that this is a type of ball lightning that originates because of the high concentrations in the soil. And Chris, as you're saying, the electromagnetic forces that are created from those types of elements. Ball lightning is a type of condensed, coherent matter that you get around earthquakes and tornadoes. This is what you know you're around ball lightning when you see these tiny, you need an electron scanning microscope, folks. But if you see these in your microscope, you've got ball lightning, because this shows up in the lab in cold fusion experiments. Wow. It shows up at Hessdalen. And these are from the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project, Bob Grenier. Look at the shape of those. That is lab produced ball lightning. Corkscrewing around, just like you saw in the previous slide of Hessdalen. You saw it waves corkscrewing around. It's the same. I'm arguing with people that believe this, who've studied this for decades. This is all the same phenomena. It's different types of coherent matter. Coherent matter being a fifth state of matter past plasmas. We were all taught about the three ordinary states of matter, right? And we're from gas, solid, liquids. We're familiar with plasmas from fluorescent bulbs and the aurora borealis and lightning. Yeah. Well, if you take lightning or aurora borealis and you confine it in some sort of self-contained magnetic field, it's now called not a plasma, but a plasmoid. Plasmoids are self-sustained objects that energetically continue on for minutes to hours to days to weeks, with very high concentrations of energy. They're like a macroscopic quantum coherent object where all the particles are at a very similar frequency and they can ionize the air around them, even if they're cool to touch. And that's, in a nutshell, what ball lightning is. It forms around thunderstorms from the intense impact of electromagnetic energies. It forms around earthquakes, sometimes around tornadoes. And in the lab experiments, you showed a picture of that cold fusion. Many cold fusion researchers, including the Japanese researcher Takeaki Matsumoto, which I should say today was the first day we got his videos of his micro ball lightning from his experiments in 1994. Someone went over to Japan, got the tapes from him, found a VHS machine in Japan over the past couple of days, put it in, captured it to YouTube, and we've now seen Matsumoto's experiments from the 90s. Keep in mind, he was banned from publishing in American fusion magazines because he used the word ball lightning. So see how rigid we can all become. Ball lightning. Here we are talking about. We have those. Just today I was watching micro little tiny ball lightning. Ken Shoulders made the same argument. So my argument is that a lot of these phenomena, including what we see around cryptids and Bigfoot and some UFO sightings, these orbs flying around, it looks an awful lot like what we see in Hessdalen and other areas, Skinwalker Ranch, Marley Woods in Missouri, Isetti Ranch in Washington, Elbert County in Colorado. Yes, there are areas. So, Chris, to answer your question, I'm being very long-winded about this.
No, that's great.
There are areas
it's a long show.
Earth that naturally form portal areas, because here's the kicker of all this. I'm not just talking about, okay, Simeon, we've ball lightning, explained it away, we can all go home. No, that's just the beginning. It changes the structure of space-time. Ken Shoulders wrote a whole article about this, which is completely fascinating, about how ball lightning and what he called charge clusters, exotic vacuum objects, change the permittivity of free space, which determines the speed of light. He argued that these types of objects, his language, he said they're like black organizations with ghostly properties. He wasn't talking about cryptids. He's talking about micro ball lightning.
Yeah, but
it sounds an awful lot like the phenomena we're all interested here. And I'm saying, and people are open to disagree with me. I'm not saying you have to believe me. I'm saying maybe this could all be the same thing. It's structures of coherent matter that change the nature of space-time, like Shoulders and others have argued. Change permittivity being the electrical structure of space, of vacuum space, resistance to electrical field. If you change that and it goes lower, speed of light increases. And the net effect is that these sorts of objects, even what Shoulders says, and we've all experienced it, or the witnesses we've spoken to have, are in their own reality. They don't couple with our reality like you and I do when we interact and meet in the normal objects in everyday space. They're in their own reality. They can move differently. They can penetrate through solid objects. They can disappear. They even have a stealth black state. They call them black EVOs, black exotic vacuum, black ball lightning. And there are pictures of this right in the lab from people like Shakhparanov, a Russian ball lightning researcher. He's posted these pictures of these black orbs. I'm making the argument that that's what the researchers saw at Skinwalker Ranch in the OSAP program, as made popular in the book by Lukatsky et al., Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. When they encounter these black orbs over the path and it radiates cold temperatures and a feeling of fear and it's strange and it evaporates, I'm making the argument exactly what Shoulders is talking about in the lab. I could be wrong, but prove me wrong. I think it's all the same phenomena, and it's weird. It's not like we're explaining it away. We're saying there's different life in different frames of reference, which is exactly what Einstein talked about. And I put a video about it on my YouTube channel just about 2 weeks ago. This is what Einstein was talking about, different frames of reference. Einstein even proposed a variable speed of light in 1907 and 1911, but no one wanted to hear about it. In fact, relativity theory was enough. The idea that their clocks could slow down. No one wanted to think that speed of light wasn't constant. But if you accept what Shoulders said and Einstein argued 100 years ago, we live in a kind of a spooky universe. What this leads to in a nutshell, going back to our discussion before the break, well, as permittivity goes down, it makes it easier for things from other parallel realities to pop through. It's simply a pressure analogy. As the pressure gets a little less on this side, the pressure from the other side pushes through. And I think that's the essence of paranormal phenomena.
Is that why you find really high magnetism in these areas of high strangeness? Because they all seem to be super highly magnetic.
Right. That is one feature that we see in a lot of these sites. And that is a function of coherent matter, because we know that once you get ball lightning orbs, various types of coherent matter, you get this intense type of magnetism. And I found it very interesting that these cold fusion researchers reported the same types of electronics and battery camera failure that I've personally seen in crop circles. I think it's the same phenomena exhibiting itself in different ways. Yeah, Katie, this is something that the physicist Paul Dirac considered, by people like Einstein to be just one of the brightest minds anyone ever saw. He proposed this idea of magnetic monopoles, magnetic forces that exist without an opposite pole. Like we're usually used to magnets that are just north and south. I have one, you're going to have the opposite. Dirac proposed the idea you could have just pure magnetism, like you have electricity. And one of the side effects of ball lightning and orbs, it's going to, this is so freaky, magnetize non-magnetic materials. Even trees. Trees have been found to be temporarily magnetic after UFOs hovering.
Right, I've heard that.
There's a guy named Taylor Cisco, I think his name was, who I heard a lecture on one of the YouTube channels, the Advanced Propulsion, the APEC people who have their YouTube channel, Advanced Propulsion something. They interviewed him, and it's the same thing we've seen. He attributed it to something called tachyons. I don't think you need tachyons to create magnetic monopoles, and because this has been seen around ball lightning, and even Ted Phillips talked about this happening at Marley Woods, is you would get temporary magnetization where these ambers, what Ted Phillips called these orbs ambers, you would get temporary magnetization of any material. And if ball lightning came into the room right now, I mean, it could make all sorts of materials that are not magnetic. It could magnetize them. So yeah, this is a function of coherent matter. Why that happens? Well, I'm just going to put this out here, and this brings it a little farther. Magnetic monopoles, and this was proposed by Boyd Bishman at Lockheed Martin, interact with dark matter, which outnumbers ordinary matter 10(9 to 1, 8(9 to 1) particles. So magnetic monopoles are one of the types of structures that lead to interactions with dark matter, which is just like a whole nother universe that's right next to it. Without even resorting to parallel realities, folks, you've got dark matter around you right now. There could be all sorts of things that you can't see. And I'm not trying to creep people out. They can see you. You can't see them. That's dark matter.
So Kathleen from chat wanted to know that, we see ball lightning on land, but can you see them on water? And I also wanted to know, how common is ball lightning? I mean, a lot of these reports that we're getting, could they possibly be ball lightning? Do they go very high off the ground? Those kind of questions. How common is it?
Right. So there has been a lot of good research about ball lightning going back 200 years. Even before Benjamin Franklin, I think, it's around the time he was doing his experiments with lightning and the kite experiment. People have been writing about ball lightning, like this slide you're showing. People have been seeing this for hundreds of years, going down chimneys and things like that, rolling into the room, coming through windows and so forth. Because it's a natural phenomena. And it is associated with thunderstorms, but not always. It can just show up on its own. I wouldn't say it's super common, but I've seen it a couple times. I've seen it twice in England, once on the ground and once below a cloud just hanging there. And even ball lightning, like cut and dried ball lightning, atmospheric scientists who write books like this, The Atmosphere and the Ionosphere by Bychkov, is a book out of Russia, a conference about the atmosphere. They have a whole chapter on ball lightning. Even people like that talk about UFOs in books about the atmosphere. Just ordinary scientists, with typical careers, say we can't tell the difference between orbs and UFOs. We don't know where the dividing line is. And they call it overlapping phenomenology. And one of the pictures that I included here was a picture from Tiordani, the ball lightning researcher. It's a Hessdalen picture. It looks like what you would think would be a little craft or something, but he claims it's ball lightning that came out of the ground. So it's not, this is one. I was actually on the hill, the other side, where you see those trees. I was on there with some German crop circle researchers, Koch and Kyborg. One of the first open man-made research groups. They made circles. They paid farmers and made little circles to see what would happen. This showed up in a field over a crop circle while it's in a field where crop circles have shown up a lot. We were on the hill there waiting for this guy. He stops to take a picture of where we are in those trees, and he sees this orb. So this is ball lightning, and it can show up in the daytime. It can move around in interesting ways. The pictures you showed of Hessdalen earlier on, there is debate about this. I've even discussed this with some of the people from Project Hessdalen. They say, we don't think this is ball lightning, it's earth lights. But others like David Freiberger at Stanford Linear Accelerator Center argue this is all the same sort of thing. It's what you're talking about, Katie. An intense self-created magnetic field that contains the plasma. Instead of the plasma spreading out like aurora borealis, it gets very condensed into a ball. And this is what you're seeing. It interacts with matter. Now, the thing about ball lightning, it's in its own reality. The energy is so high in the area of ball lightning. It not only does it cause high levels of magnetism, and if it comes by you, it could erase your credit cards. Or even, as you mentioned, Chris, right at the beginning of the show, it can cause health issues. It can explode. And if you look at some of these books going back 100 years, Walter Brand and others from the 1920s talked about it transporting people and animals. Teleportation. It can kill. It can explode. It can go inside you. Now, this isn't all that common, to go back to the viewer's question, but it's a very complex phenomena, but it's been known about. But here's what I think is very interesting about it. We haven't talked about it very much in our society in the United States. There's a lot of research in this in the former Soviet Union, excellent researcher, and modern Russian researchers, because it overlaps with cold fusion. As you mentioned, Chris, weaponization. I imagine some of the motivation for Russia and the former Soviet Union to want to see if we can weaponize this. And I'm sure it's already been done and it's classified and we wouldn't know about it if someone has done it. But it's a fascinating topic and it extends into all these areas, including Bigfoot and cryptids, which is one of the biggest shocks of my life, to realize what people were experiencing around Bigfoot and cryptids. I had seen in crop circles, battery failure, camera failure, orbs, and so on.
Well, it kind of makes me think about Bigfoots and cryptids. I've read a lot that sometimes there's orbs associated with Bigfoot sightings. And, I'm wondering if they're controlling that on their end, if it is. And you were talking about dark matter, too. I was thinking about that when you were talking about fractals. I'm thinking, I wonder if that has to do with dark matter in the universe. But kind of going back. But let's
Great
talk about
question.
the hairy beasts, though, and the orbs, and how do those relate, perhaps?
No, these are fascinating questions. I got into this topic because so many of the people that took my remote viewing classes here in Boulder were Colorado natives who had grown up around here and spent a lot of time in the Rockies, who told me over many years, different people when we go out for lunch, have breaks, they tell me their Bigfoot stories. And as I did research and I, got to know the folks at the Sasquatch Outpost, looked at the museum, they're a great museum in Bailey. And then I started reading and talking to people at the conferences that were hosted by the Sasquatch Outpost. Everybody was talking about these orbs, which is the last thing you'd expect if you're dealing with an escaped gorilla or a relic primate or something that, types of stuff we've been told in the past, even from cryptozoologists, which is, I think, part of the prejudice I had, which is why it didn't click for me for a long time until recently, that these topics were connected. But when you talk to the witnesses, and this is something we were told is sometimes taken out of the witnesses' reports in some of these Bigfoot reporting organizations, they don't want paranormal stuff in there. But this is what witnesses say they see. You just have to read books by Carter Bouchard from Missouri, Arkansas area. You get time loss. You get these orbs. You get a lot of strange phenomena around Bigfoot and other creatures that we really don't have very good names for. And of course, Stan Gordon's book, his books, one I'm familiar with is, the book about Pennsylvania sightings from the 70s.
It's a good book.
Silent Invasion. Right. I mean, it's just one case after another of UFOs, Bigfoot, orbs, all intermixed any way you want. Like put them in a blender and mix all the orbs with the Bigfoot. So what it would suggest to me, and I'm open to other arguments, is that we're dealing with phenomena that are based on the same sort of frequency and the same type of matter. And it could be that Bigfoot is associated with orbs. And you just have to read yourself. You'll see what people say they experience. It suggests to me that these types of life forms are at a similar frequency to ball lightning, which means they have capacities that you and I don't have or don't know we have to morph and change and to, just alter their forms in ways that we see ball lightning do. It wouldn't be surprising that there's life on Earth that's more evolved than we are, that our egos are just too inflated to admit that we're not the most advanced life on the planet.
We're not the big boys on the block.
No, there's it seems to be other civilizations that have been here a long time, and Bigfoot seems to be a part of that civilization who've gone in a different direction. We went in the direction of mechanization and technology. They went in the direction of working with natural principles like ball lightning orbs, fractal geometry, sonoluminescence that's sort of creating energy from sound vibration. This is all accurate stuff. This is stuff that Tesla talked about and many others.
And I was just going to... You're jumping right to my question, because here's what I was going to say. Okay.
Remote viewed it.
So yeah, because I'm sitting here going, okay, I got to ask him this. So we know the phenomenon ball lightning is real. We know that it harnesses certain types of energy, and it could be actually great energy. It's coordinated with dark matter. Do you think this is what Tesla was working on, and this is what the government took, and this is what they're hiding from? Because everything you're saying, we have this natural energy that we can take from the earth, right? And if we harness it correctly, what you're explaining is we have a tremendous amount of energy. Now, if we harness that energy, use it the right way, we would be off of fossil fuels. We would be off of all kinds of other things. And we would have this amazing energy that we could recreate. Now, Tesla was working on this. He didn't call it ball lightning, but he was calling it some other thing. Is this the same thing, Doctor?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Wow.
Short answer, yes. There are people that have
I was hoping for a long answer, but
well, I will give you the long answer. There are people that have reproduced Tesla's lab equipment, including John Hutchinson in Canada, the Canadian inventor who John Alexander wrote about in his book, Reality Denied. You can go online and see all of his strange fractured metal samples at room temperature that looks like the metal melted, but it was at room temperature.
Wow.
Using Tesla pulse discharge generators and so forth. And there's a guy named David Boutillier in Canada who's reproduced Tesla's equipment, and they all got the same results.
all right,
Tesla
stop right there for a second.
Ball lightning.
If we have scientists that are that great and able to reproduce it, why haven't we seen it out to the public?
It's classified. I know for a fact it's classified.
Okay.
I'm 100% certain there was a Ukrainian company called Proton 21 that was working with this technology. And if you read the interviews with them before they were bought by the U.S. Department of Energy and moved to Oak Ridge National Labs, their final interview said they had created something that they could only describe as dark matter from their cold fusion experiments. It was a type of matter that would absorb bullets.
Wow.
And they were talking about the same types of technology, coherent matter, micro ball lightning, same stuff as Tesla, go a century later. And they were going to create their own company until they had their own company until the DOE, 100 employees in, I don't know, Kharkiv or someone there, in one of the areas that's, in the conflict right now, the conflict zone. This could be what it's about. But Proton 21 Labs went dark and they were bought by DOE. Have we heard anything about them since we were there? No. Do you know that the Department of Energy has its own classification schemes? You've all heard about this, right? Yeah, they do. They have their own classification. There are people in DOE that are under these non-disclosure agreements. And it's not just because of atomic power plants. We're talking about coherent matter, energy systems. Proton 20 Labs was talking about dark matter and creating materials that could absorb bullets. Think about the implications of that. I mean, literally absorb matter. A dark matter that could absorb other types of matter. It sounds like the same thing to me.
Is it changing the molecular structure of the bullet? Are you like
no? It's just a type of
separating the
matter.
atoms?
It's just this matter. This type of matter that ball lightning is associated with is so dense that it just eats other matter for breakfast and it spits it out as different chemical elements that went in. Literally nuclear alchemy. This is one of the side effects. When I went into this area, folks, I was interested in cold fusion, producing energy, limitless energy, 0-point fields. But what I found was there's actually other things that cold fusion, now it's called low energy nuclear reaction, Leonard. It does other things that are equally fascinating, which is it creates kind of an alchemy, a transmutation of elements, and it spits out every element on the periodic chart, including carbon, by the way.
Wow.
And it's not inconceivable that the pressure underground in the earth creates this type of carbon from a Leonard type of reaction. So this is special types of matter, highly condensed, highly coherent, has quantum aspects to it. It would almost seem like magic if you've seen it, but folks like I mentioned Hutchinson and others have reproduced it in the lab, have created very interesting reactions. And when you look at it under the electron scanning microscope, you see these crenulated iron spheres. You see things like this, where you have, and this is a book from Takeaki Matsumoto's papers, again, who we just had the video today for the first time, where you have lead carbon films emerging from pure lead balls. He had these lead wires. How do you get carbon spewing out of this? Because it's transmutation. Alchemy is real. So this is why this has such huge scientific and national defense implications. And I guess we can all understand why I would argue it's probably all classified at this point.
Right. Talk about getting a leg up on your in wartime or something, if you have, in the secret societies, they've been practicing that, right, for decades, and it's well hidden. And can you imagine if we were able to absorb bullets, how that would change?
Right. And I just going back to the citizen hearing, 2013, there was a pilot there from the Peruvian Army, Oscar Santamaria, Lieutenant Colonel Oscar Santamaria. He was sent up as they were doing exercises there in their Air Force, Peruvian Air Force. And he said, this object was moving in strange ways. And he said he was sent up. They were allies with the Soviet Union at the time in his MiG fighter. He released all 30 rounds into this object, each round designed to take out a truck engine. He said they were all absorbed by the object as if it had some special skin that absorbed. I'm just imagining here, maybe that's what these objects are made of, these types of materials that have a quantum density that ordinary matter can't stand up to. And it's not like those bullets really actually disappeared. They would come out in a different form as different materials. But what the implication of this is? One implication of all this is you could completely transmute radioactive elements from reactor and disasters into harmless carbon and other elements, because Leonard cold fusion likes to spit out carbon and other elements on the periodic table, as you can see in the cover of Matsumoto's book. So it's a fascinating area. So here's the answer, Chris, to what you're asking me. It's not only, and Katie, it's not only that this existed in secret societies. It's sort of been like a parallel track. This is the best way I can understand it, to what we understand as official science culture and discoveries. There's been a parallel track of people since Tesla and before. A lot of them died during World War I because a lot of them were British on the front lines. And then World War II came along and interrupted all the progress that was being done there, and everything got centralized and bureaucratized, which we can see where that led to. It's almost been, this has been there all the time, just waiting to emerge as a type of natural science that comes out of the way that the Earth works. What Tesla said, sound, vibration, and frequency, right? It seems like that's really the way the Earth produces this naturally. And for some reason, us modern folk, even though we think we're so advanced with all the latest technology, it was suppressed somehow, whether it was deliberate, just incompetence. I don't know why, but if you do the research and you read these books, you realize people have been studying this very seriously for decades, and we know a lot about it. These are self-contained, self-organized magnetic fields that interact with dark matter, and this is what all the Russian researchers said. And it produces things like tornadoes and the so-called angel hairs that are seen around UFO sightings. It forms strings. And this is one indication that those UFOs are interacting with dark matter in some way, because this is what you end up with, these dark matter interactions. According to this research, is this angel hair type stringy, like carbon-based phenomena. And just many other phenomena that even the way comets, the way they seem to glow, that are not easily explainable. I've been researching tornadoes a lot over the past couple of weeks. There are no good explanations how tornadoes form from mesocyclones. They can't explain it. But the dark matter Leonard angle has a pretty good way of saying how matter comes together. Once it reaches like this critical threshold, it forms that fifth state, that coherent matter state, very strong energies, very strong magnetic fields, and so forth.
Katie, you had a question, didn't you?
Oh, well, I wanted to another question from chat too. I'll read that in a second. But, I was just wondering about the big blue orbs that, skinwalkers at the Pentagon talk about. They're volleyball sized. I mean, does ball lightning change colors, and can they be blue? And then again, Kathleen in chat wanted to know if ball lightning happens over rivers, lakes, and oceans.
Right. Good questions. So it has different colors based on the types of minerals that are the original source for it. If it's coming from silicas or carbons or some of the elements on the periodic table, it'll have a different frequency. And the blue ones tend to be more in the direction of producing some of those radioactive emanations that can be harmful.
Interesting.
So the colors do tell us a lot about it, but I found it very interesting that all the colors we see around ball lightning, green. I've seen one I saw in the UK, Knapp Hill, near where crop circles have shown up, was a deep kind of topaz blue.
Ooh.
And there was another fellow with me there. We both saw it. We couldn't believe what we just, and he just lasted a few seconds. They can be reddish. That's the same color you see in Bigfoot eyes and dogman eyes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I think we're dealing with creatures that have learned to harness the benefits of coherent matter, which would give you the ability to cloak and become invisible and even glide. That sort of gliding motion we see of ball lightning. Again, I'm open to be proven wrong, but it seems when you hear reports of witnesses saying that the Bigfoot seemed to be gliding over the forest, it didn't look like they were walking or even running. They were just sort of sliding. Or I think that's the same type of phenomenon, because we know that these orbs, ball lightnings, earth lights create, I guess, for lack of a better word, type of anti-gravitational effects. They create their own gravitational fields. And this is what Hal Puthoff talked about in his guide, Advanced Space Metric Engineering. Yeah, I think it's the same thing, because once you've got shoulders saying you've got these alterations in permittivity and probably permeability, the magnetic component of space. I mean, once you have a type of matter that can instantly make those constants become variable, you're going to get these strange gravitational effects. And by the way, there are Russian scientists like Alexander Parkhomov in his book Space, Earth, Human that have talked about these, what he calls small black holes that in Russia and the Soviet Union, they felt came into the atmosphere, went over villages and towns out there. And people reported things flying up towards the ceiling, even themselves hitting the ceiling and stuff. Temporary anti-gravity effect. Again, we're talking about real. I'm not saying these are all exactly identical. It just seems to me they're all part of the same spectra of phenomena here.
Right.
It's so interesting you bring up the sound resonance. And out here in the Elbert County Ranch, you have the reports of those low tones. And so could it possibly be this, magic combination of the magnetism, and the tones and the water and all that? I mean, do you think that there's like some magical formula that's causing more activity in certain areas?
Right, Katie, you could definitely produce this with sound. You can produce orbs with sound.
Wow.
There's a whole range of cold fusion experiments that are created through what's called cavitation, which is an ultra high frequency sound. And it could be created with lower frequencies too. The main key here is coherence. It's not, we're all used to pure strength, like somehow things that are strong come from expending a lot of energy, but the universe has other ideas. You can create strength through coherence, and we saw this in the Lockheed Martin patent that was awarded in 1921, where they talked about coherent matter wave beams, and they talked about creating things that are 1,000,000 times stronger than a laser with coherency.
Are you talking about a metal, doctor, when you say that, or
any
type of beam?
No, the type of matter they're talking about could be created with light, any sort of particles that are coherent. And their analogy in the patent, by the way, was murmurations, flocks of birds and schools of fish. It's like analogous to that. If you get everything sort of synced up together, type of synchronization, it creates a lot of energy, and you can actually create power by subtracting energy from the system. The main thing is that whatever energy you're dealing with is at the same frequency, and it begins. Do you remember that film you've seen, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge?
Yes, it wobbles. Yes, yeah.
It's a brand new bridge or something. They're all engineers all proud of it. It's up in Washington State. And the wind's blowing across it. It's just the right frequency, and it collapses.
They were walking on it too.
This is what we're talking about. It's strength through coherency and frequency. And when Tesla says that everything can be reduced to sound, frequency, and vibration, I mean, this is what we're talking about. It's not just we're so used to pure application of force from fossil fuels. There's also another realm to reality that works on coherency, and that's the basis for coherent matter. And if people want to say, well, it sounds like woo, well, Lockheed Martin and the patent office don't think it's woo. They, there's a patent around it. Okay. And so we know this is what defense contractors are working on, is creating these types of weapons and communications and other systems based on what our good old Tesla was working on 100 years ago. They've just given it a different language in the same way that the Arrow office now calls them all domain anomalies or whatever instead of UFOs. I'm fine with UFOs. You want to call it all whatever they call it, UAPs, and then AA. It's just a different language, but I think it's the same phenomena. And again, Chris, going back to your question, this has been a parallel track to official science the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reasons, it's a big, it's a whole nother discussion. The institutions that we've been around maybe it's just bureaucracies don't want things that really work to be around them. They like stuff that doesn't work because it keeps everyone employed a lot longer than things that really work.
All right, let's stay on frequencies for a second because I'm kind of fascinated with this subject because I've been working on it. So Dr. Gary Nolan has been studying MRIs of people who have encountered UFO crafts with their energy and UFO abductions and UFO encounters. And in these MRIs, they have found that there has been physical injuries to the brain. And they are trying to figure out if it's some kind of frequency that these crafts or anything that give out that can be harmful. So just like ball lightning, is there something that maybe through telepathic messages or something like that a certain frequency can damage the brain? I'm sure there is, but I mean, do you know anything about it that other pilots and everything have been encountering this?
Well, it's not something that I know any more than the rest of you. It immediately makes me think of some of these Bigfoot witnesses who I've talked to said they have a type of brain fog for at least a day or two after their encounters and other types of cryptids, as if some sort of frequency had been emitted that scatters your brain at best or makes you actually lose consciousness or as if you went through a time slip. It's hard to know what exactly happened to these people. I mean, did they actually go into another realm of space-time? I mean, not like they lost consciousness, because they don't feel like they lost consciousness. They just feel like time moved forward and they woke up again. It's very strange.
Right.
But that's a really good question.
As you were...
Yeah.
No, as you were saying...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. As you were saying, the encounter with a Bigfoot, you have this brain fog yourself. So a Bigfoot could potentially be emitting some sort of frequency, some sort of energy that if we get too close to it, that in fact can harm us or disrupt our frequency. Is that possible?
It's possible, or it's like what Shoulders is saying, it exists in its own space-time bubble. And when you get too close to it, you have now changed your parameters of space-time, which would lead you to experience at least an extreme type of confusion, which is what the witnesses tell us they experience, or a time slip where a couple hours have gone by and your brain can't even handle it. So it just checks out for a while. I mean, that's a possibility, but I do want to mention, Chris, there was on the first season of, the Skinwalker Ranch show, right? Secret Skinwalker Ranch. We saw someone who had a brain, it was like a hematoma or something, which we're told happens out there, which is one of the reasons why they want to keep people off the property. Wow. And that, I mean, all I can say is it seems consistent with the intense type of energy that you get around orbs, ball lightning, which is not always visible. This could be the dark type that could be around you and you wouldn't even know it. And so, yeah, you need to go into those areas with some sort of caution and pay attention to the feelings. I mean, if you get this feeling like you shouldn't be there, that you need to leave. I mean, cryptid witnesses talk about this happening the night before their encounters, time and time again. And I'm not sure if this is the same effect or not, but they say that they had this feeling like they should leave and they didn't listen to it. I've spoken to people who told me this, and you can read about it yourself. Is that okay? So the question is that a type of fear that these creatures are deliberately emanating to sort of paralyze you? You know, maybe they use it as hunters, or is it because these types of dark matter, coherent matter structures, because they're sort of changing the structure of space-time, you interpret that as a type of panic or fear because you're not really used to experiencing it?
Right. And, ETs, contactees and abductees report the same phenomena, right? Missing time, paralysis. And they also get this high pitched sound in their ear. I hear so many people talk about that. I experienced that myself. And it's not tinnitus. I mean, it's something else. I mean, they have weaponized sound. Isn't that correct? I think they were experimenting with that in World War II. So perhaps something like that is happening with ET when people are being taken.
Well, whatever we have developed or weaponized or classified, I guarantee you someone in nature has already figured this out. That's my conviction. And again, I could be wrong. Right. But my feeling is by the time Lockheed Martin figured it out and the patent office accepted it, I'm sure there's some life form out there that already knows how to do all of that. And they're not going to give themselves away. They may not even particularly like humans.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? They may be very happy to stay invisible, except when they want to appear to us as that saran wrap shimmering that people see moving through the woods or whatever. So my feeling is, and I guess this goes back to my graduate school days studying technology, whatever we've invented, nature already figured out somewhere, right? We're just developing what already exists in nature anyway, aren't we? And just sort of controlling it and refining it. But I think what I'm attempting to add in here, it's not only that nature already figured it out. I think someone else already figured it out. And just like we don't give our secrets away to our adversaries deliberately, they don't give themselves away to us at all. Right. Unless they choose to show up to you, they may personally feel an affinity to you. People go on Bigfoot, Sasquatch, outings to see them. And sometimes they do. And they can seem very, beneficent, and they have gifting relationships. But at other times it can be quite adversarial, I think, to be honest. So I think these types of properties that we're talking about tonight already exist. And the folks that have figured it out, we call them cryptids because they're so mysterious, they can disappear. And they can probably do a lot of things that we'd like to do. But in our realm, in our society, I think it's probably in the realm of classification. Because even the remote viewing program was a special access program. The people, and I've spoken to them, the people who worked at DIA program, worked at SRI, they couldn't even tell their wives what they were involved in the early 70s. That's how classified remote viewing was. And that's just remote viewing. But that's something that's built into all of us too, right?
Right.
But particular programs around it where it's developed into something, are classified. And I just can't imagine that we're having this discussion tonight. And I've sort of figured this out by watching and studying 3 years of material about Tesla coherent matter, all the Russian research and other countries. If I've been able to figure it out just as an ordinary person, you would have to imagine that some of our agencies have figured this out, just like they bought Proton 21 Labs. And they simply want to use it for whatever they're using it for.
I have a question for you about these orbs. So there's been orb sightings around crop circles as well. Yeah. Maybe that's the energy or the frequency. What is your take on the orbs or the ball lightning, whatever it is in crop circles?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. There's an orb crop circle connection. And this is something that I puzzled over, including the types of weird magnetic effects that Katie alluded to. I was so shocked to find that happening around wheat. I mean, wheat is such an inert substance, right? This is an example, by the way, the Milton Hill Farms formation, where Colin Andrews went out with an engineer, Jean, I forgot his last name. I talked to him once at a UFO conference. They dragged an industrial grade magnetometer across all those circles. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that's their magnet. This is a man-made one, by the way, because we know who made this one. And I'm just showing you this one because the man-made one's going to look good, right?
So even the man-made ones have unusual properties?
They do, because the Milton Hill Farms one, there's a picture of Andrews and O'Brien's magnetic mapping of that circle. The magnetic variations, which were pretty large, that's one. It pretty much overlaps the circles, but I got to know all 5 circle makers through investigation that summer who made this. I got to talk to the people that made this. They did not plant any magnets there. They have no idea why it's magnetically charged. This is proof right here that you get these sorts of magnetic anomalies that Katie was referring to in inert substances that we normally consider to be an insulator. Wheat, it's made of cellulose, right? You normally don't get shocks when you're touching your bread. But this proves to us that a helical spiral shape can produce a type of vortex pattern, which one possibility, it's organizing dark matter. It's creating a type of coherent matter, which would lead to magnetic monopoles. And what you're seeing right here on the screen here. The other picture you just showed, by the way, is one that we made, the numbers formation with all those numbers. I mean, Scott Flansburgh, a Guinness Book of World Records holder from adding math. He asked us, he paid us to do this. We paid the farmer. This is all legal, folks.
It looks good.
Yeah, we made it look too good. And a lot of people didn't believe we could do it. And we received a lot of comments that we were hoaxers, that we hadn't made it. We had pretended to make it.
How long did it take you to make that?
A couple days in the daytime. We had very good artists with us, one of whom who made the spirals on the outer circles was one of the best circle makers. This person who made this one was also helped us with the numbers formation. This was also a paid one where the farmer knew about it. Had that beautiful yin yang in the center. So in our math matrix, even people going in reported camera and battery failure. And when Ron Russell, who's in the Denver area, flew over this in a microlight and took this picture, he said that my Olympus camera, not film, it was little SD cards at the time, it just totally went on the fritz. He had to take the batteries out and put them back in, which sounds familiar, right? Flying a couple hundred feet, the kind of the legal limit you could fly over these. So to me, that suggests that there's just these energy patterns around the spiral shapes, which is what ball lightning is also formed around, these vortex patterns. And think of tornadoes. I guess what we're all saying here, the people that research this, is that that sort of helical vortexual shape, like you see here, where all the wheat's pointing in the same direction. In material sciences, they call it anisotropy, all directional, right? There's a power to that directionality that doesn't come out of physical force. It comes out of coherency and frequencies, and it's working with the energies. I'm speculating it's dark matter. Maybe someone has a better idea of why that shape would create it. But I have seen so many cameras and batteries go out in circles, even the ones that we've made. There's some pictures I sent you of our Kansas formation, which we made on the way back from the remote viewing conference in Austin, Texas in 2002. We had permission to make a small one. You can see them if you can show them. Yes, all of the pictures came out wrong. I don't know how they show up like this. There's something going on there. Look at that.
Magnetic.
This is a professional Nikon camera that never did this before and never did it again. Even the ordinary photos are slightly blurry. That's us using our static. Look at this picture. That's the size of our circle. It's tiny. But it created these weird, I mean, look at that. It doesn't look right at all. Every photo had this, like an energy on the film. And we know that these micro ball lightnings, Tara, you've been asking about ball lightning, and we've been talking about, types that people can see, but it can exist at a micro state.
Cool.
Tiny little state. It can be attracted to the silver halides on the film. It's attracted to things. It's attracted to grounds. It's attracted to other elements. It could be attracted to film because that was a film camera.
Does it have intention?
Well, that's a very good question. When people see ball lightning, a lot of people say they got the feeling it was following them, like it was aware. But when you read ball lightning researchers, they tell us that it's following static gradients, that it can appear to be alive. But so guys, it's an open question. You can't discount the fact that it seems to be intentional, but the scientists who study it tell us that it's just very sensitive to static fields, which is why it moves down the aisles of airplanes, right down the aisles of airplanes. So there's a lot of open questions about this. We can't resolve them all, but the main point is it has a macroscopic form that we visually see with our eyes, and it has this microscopic form that you see in cold fusion experiments and electronics experiments. And it seems to me that's one of the features that's creating this camera and battery failure, which, because I studied crop circles, I mean, I went over to the UK like 20 times. and the last tour we had was in 2019 until COVID hit. I've seen the batteries and the cameras fail, and it's not like they just start working again. I mean, people have told me their devices didn't work for weeks or months. All of a sudden, miraculously, they start working again. Now, when I came across Bigfoot encrypted witnesses, and they said their cameras were going out, and Jim Myers, I was asking him about this once at one of the conferences. He said they had a case where 3 cars wouldn't start around a Bigfoot sighting area, 3 vehicles. I mean, it seems to me a similar sorts of, unless we can show it's a different sort of cause of battery failure, I'm just going to say it's something similar. It's a type of matter that can distort the electromagnetic field. It's almost like it's sucking electromagnetism out of the area, which is what you get with permittivity changes and everything that Ken Shoulders talked about. By the way, Ken Shoulders worked for the NSA developing microelectronics. The reason we have computers and all this stuff is because of Ken Shoulders.
Cool. Thank you, Ken.
Sorry, I dropped out. I phased out, but gosh, we're down. This show flew by. It's been fascinating to hear this stuff, and I know we can't get into it right now, but as you're talking, Simeon, I'm thinking about when you resonate a sound and you put sand, on a tray, and it makes these beautiful geometric shapes. Right. Do those become magnetized when they form those shapes? I'm curious.
It's a good question. I mean, I think if you intensified the process, you pushed it a little farther, you would end up there. Those are called, Chladni plates, from Ernst Friedrich Florenz Chladni, the German physicist who is considered the father of acoustics. He went around Europe playing a bow on those plates to create that. What is the other name we call it nowadays for that sand? There's a name for it. I should know this because I talked about it many times in my RV classes. It'll come back to me. But originally they were called Chladni forms. Curiously enough, he's the same guy that argued meteorites were extraterrestrial. One of the first physicists who said they're not coming from volcanoes, they're extra. He's the one that figured out there was a connection between sound and shapes, which became the basis of quantum mechanics, quantum waveforms. So if you keep intensifying it enough, if it starts interacting with dark matter, focusing it, it's really a compressed state of matter, you would get these really odd effects. It would have to be a pretty strong sound or very coherent, Katie, to do that. But it's really.
Oh man, Dr. Simeon, we would love to have you back on. There's so much more. I know Chris is chomping at the bit, and Tara, and there's so much to talk about here. So I hope someday you could come back with us. Sure. I want to thank you so much for being here, being our guest. I want to thank Tara, Chris, our producer, Amanda, and Bill, and KGRA. And please report those sightings to MUFON. And everybody will see you back here next Tuesday. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in and listening. And we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks.
Bye.